seen around the world taxi drivers setting up worker cooperatives and use online applications to be able to counter the intermediation of ride-hailing companies that withhold benefits and rights to the workers. And we see within the field of technology, youth are drawn to these SSE models. We have recently documented at the ILO new strategies that are being used by self-employed workers to reclaim their rights and to have a fairer share of the economic gains from platform economy. And this looks at examples from Africa, Asia, Latin America, the global south of on-demand work, crowdsourcing, and e-commerce sectors. I'll be happy to share this with you, and it would be great to have from the researchers attending this conference to share more of such examples. Coming to the social pillar, we have SDG 4 on health and well-being, SDG 5 on gender equality, SDG 10 on reduced inequalities, 11 on sustainable cities and communities, SDG 16 on peace, and 17 on partnerships. For instance, in relation to good health and well-being, the existing infrastructure of SSEOs, like agricultural and financial cooperatives or mutuals at the local level, can be fertile building grounds for providing public health services for underserved rural communities and among informal economy workers. We are in fact joining forces with the International Health Cooperative Organization to explore the viability of such options in Kenya and Cameroon currently. On SDG 5, on gender equality, globally, great strides have been made toward improving on the inequalities. Nevertheless, the disparities persist, and we see women joining SSEOs, and in fact, many members, founders, users of SSEO services are women, although maybe we don't see as many women in leadership structure, like let's say in agricultural cooperatives or financial cooperatives, but we'll see them more prominent in the artisanal or in the care, social, education type sectors. This is something that there's still some more work to do in advancing leadership roles for women in SSEOs. And in informal economy, we see women workers choosing SSEOs to improve livelihoods and access to goods, markets, and services. For instance, in the US, immigrant women care workers have been setting up cooperatives with the support of unions and community organizations to secure better wages, improved quality of jobs, and healthier working environments. Not only are they doing this as individual, small co-ops here and there, but they are using a franchising model to help them reach scale and replicate these experiences. And I think it's important, again, on the research when we are talking about scale, sustainability, and replication, important to look at some of these models of like franchising or building consortium to create economy of scale, a few co-ops and SSEOs coming together to form a company that can then bid for public or private procurement of services. Women-only co-ops exist in a number of countries where women are main producers and service providers for instance, like argan oil or shea butter, are some of the co-op SSEOs where women are very concentrated. In the realm of social protection, co-op and mutual insurance providers have been growing their share among insurance providers globally. Rwanda, Senegal, Ghana have mutual health insurance systems that provide community-based health insurance, covering many people in rural and informal economies. And we have seen waste pickers, taxi drivers often using co-ops and mutuals to be setting them up to be able to access insurance, health insurance. SDG 17 calls for strengthening the means of implementation toward realizing sustainable development and revitalizing global partnership for sustainable development. And SSEOs are ways to strengthen these means of implementation toward achievement of SDGs. And in some countries, there's emerging partnership with local government and SSEOs, where the latter are given a priority or quotas in accessing public procurement contracts in public works or social care or food catering type services. I think one point it's interesting to note here is when the SDGs, and when we talk about SDG partnerships, we often think national, regional, global. But the operation of co-ops and other SSEOs are at the local level. So there is a little bit of a disconnect when we want to show proof of how SSEOs are contributing to SDGs. SDGs stand at the national and the SSEOs stay at the local. So localizing SDGs is important while also getting the indicators and data and contributions, concretized evidence from SSEOs upwards from the local to the national is also necessary. Under the environmental pillar, we have SDG 6 on clean water and sanitation, 7 on affordable and clean energy, 12 on responsible consumption and production. This is something I think very important for SSEOs. There is the SDG 13 on climate action. That was the topic of last year's International Day of Cooperatives. SDG 14 on life below water. This is, of course, important for coastal communities, fishery, and the SDG 15 for life on land as it relates to forests and natural resources and making more climate change resilient communities, protecting the environment. SDG 12 on shortening the global supply chain to make it fairer and more efficient is, I think, very close to this world of cooperatives and SSEOs by linking the producers and consumers through their associations and organizations and cooperatives. And there are emerging examples, of course, for instance, from Kenya, coffee grower co-ops and Danish consumer co-ops, or Togolese organic pineapple producing co-ops and Italian consumer co-ops. These C2C, co-op to co-op trade initiatives are still too few and far in between and need to be studied and documented closely for what could be elements that can be used for purposes of replication. Again, it's a call for the esteemed researchers in the audience perhaps to consider. Many social enterprises around the world operate in the circular economy in reduction, reusing, recycling to minimize waste. Young people we see getting involved in recycling e-waste, and of course, e-waste is a very messy and dangerous thing. There's fumes coming up when you're melting the copper to extract valuable metals, etc. So doing this in a manner that is both fair for environment but also for the workers involved is the important, I think, element. We've seen SSEOs instrumental in ensuring a just transition while working on climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. So mutual insurance for crops, diversification of crops, energy saving irrigation and construction techniques are among the climate change adaptation strategies that SSEOs use and raise awareness among their members, especially in agriculture or in construction. In terms of climate change mitigation, we can talk about forestry and renewable energy cooperatives and associations. Forestry organizations have been very important in countries where communities where forest communities live to secure livelihoods while also using the forestry resources more sustainably. In urban areas in the global south, co-ops and other solidarity associations of recycling, informal recycling workers are quite prominent. India, Brazil, Colombia, South Africa have these kind of waste pickers, solidarity organizations or cooperatives. They both provide improved waste management and recycling, contribute to that. But it's also, of course, important that these then organizations negotiate with local governments to integrate their members into the waste management chains and support their access to occupational safety and health and training and financial services. For instance, in Brazil, waste pickers, cooperatives and associations have formed a platform, a secondary vertical platform, and they've been negotiating with local governments to secure childcare services for their members, women and men members. In renewable energy, community-based organizations are gaining ground in Europe, harnessing wind and solar power as well as biogases. They are noted to have a number of competitive advantages, including democratic local control over energy production and use, capacity to create local employment, and reasonable pricing. Again, I think the enabling elements and the ecosystem around that makes these kind of renewable energy co-ops and wider social and solidarity organizations viable is something to look at and to see how we can apply them, adjust them in our countries, across countries in the global south. We see SSEOs in small-scale biological farming, alternative food networks, fair trade associated, some of those associated with fair trade, solidarity purchasing, collective provisioning. Of course, this often requires urban middle-income consumers to sustain such systems, fairer and greener systems. There are many challenges to making these experiences reach sustainability and scale, and there are probably still more struggling experiences than successes. One of the big challenges is the regulatory environment for SSEOs. Unreliability of funding resources, another one for scaling up, replicating, because often traditional financing sources are limited. And you have all mentioned in your opening words the importance of education and training infrastructure, not only for cooperatives, but even more so for engaging actively in the wider social and solidarity economy. People need to know what is it and how to engage in it and benefit their communities. We've been working in Tunisia and Algeria and setting up SSE initiatives for both training and seed funding for youth and women in rural and disadvantaged communities. And I think these could be good examples for replication adaptation in other countries in Africa. And I invite you to visit these initiatives and see how they could be applied in Kenya and other countries. I mentioned statistics as an issue. I mean, co-op statistics are a challenge. SSE statistics are even more of a challenge, and you need to not bring co-op statistics, but also the other type of organization statistics together in a kind of comparable and harmonized way. So there's still a big room. Why do we need to have statistics? Well, we are talking about SDG contribution. Yes, we can keep doing case studies, we can do comparative case studies, but we need the numbers to be able to say in the sector, this percent of GDP contribution is through SSEOs, for instance, or employment created in this local community. This percentage is from co-op and wider SSEOs. I want to mention an international research network. I'm sure that you're familiar with CIRIEC, and this is the International Research Organization on Social Economy, Cooperatives, and it has a very wide network of researchers and national sections. The only national section for CIRIEC in Africa is in Tunisia. I think it would be important for African researchers working on SSE in general and co-ops in particular to be more closely associated with such networks. They have an international conference coming up on SSE and SDGs, your topic, in September in San Jose, Costa Rica, and I think Co-op University, of Kenya would be a great national center for CIRIEC, and I would encourage you to also look in this to be a part of a rightful part of these international networks on social economy. Finally, I would like to say a few words on ways forward. It's the other side of the coin of the constraints, so new regulation for starting and growing SSEOs. There is an upcoming African Union initiative for having a framework SSE policy for Africa, and ILO colleagues in Pretoria have been asked to support it. This is something that would be important to engage with and ensure that it is inclusive and consultative. Once a draft is initiated, there will, of course, be a consultation process around it with researchers and practitioners and policymakers. Financing, we mentioned, and we really need to see what are the different financing mechanisms. We mentioned, ethical banking, financial cooperative union, but different social impact bonds, impact investment, different financing schemes are important to look at. Curricula on SSE. Of course, you have robust curricula on cooperatives in the Co-op University of Kenya, but developing a wider SSE curriculum would be interesting. There are some available in French that are being used in some of the Francophone countries in Africa, and I think more needs to be developed and contextualized for national settings. Briefly, on ILO, and I promise I conclude, the ILO has been working on cooperatives for more than 100 years, and in the last decade, it has also been working on social and solidarity economy through research, policy development, projects, in partnerships. It has also held social and solidarity economy academies on specific topics like youth and technology and local economic development that brings researchers and practitioners and policymakers together. There was one in Morocco. There is one in the plans for Tunisia. It would be great maybe to collaborate with the Co-op University of Kenya to do one in Kenya. ILO's co-op unit has, as I said, been around since 1920. It's been formally associated with the co-op movement, the ICA, since its beginnings. And next year, We also ILO co-founded the UN Task Force on SSE and has been its chair. It's also a member of the Committee on the Promotion and Advancement of Cooperatives, COPAC, since the 1960s. That includes ICA and other UN agencies. At the ILO, there has been growing interest on SSE. Co-ops have been around and mentioned in international labor standards since 1940s. There is, in fact, an ILO recommendation on promotion of cooperatives that was adopted in 2002, and it has helped many countries revamp their co-op policies and legislation using these recommendations. More than 110 countries have used it in the last 19 years, and next year will be its 20th anniversary. And there has been, but more and more cooperatives and SSE are being mentioned together in these international declarations and standards, like Abidjan Declaration that was adopted at the ILO's 14th African Regional Meeting in December 2019, calls for promoting cooperatives and social economy. During the International Labor Conference in June this year, a call for action was adopted on how to recover from the pandemic. And there, too, the resolution mentions social and solidarity economy, along with the important role to be played by private and public actors. I want to just say that next year there will be an agenda item on the International Labor Conference on Social and Solidarity Economy for a Human-Centered Future Work. This was requested by the governing body of the ILO in March this year. So we are busy preparing the paper that will be the basis for discussion at that next conference. And what will this conference discuss? A universal definition on social and solidarity economy, including its associated values and principles, an assessment of the contribution of SSE to help people manage their transitions in their working lives from youth to old age, but also from informal to formal, and provide some policy guidelines for member states wishing to establish a conducive enabling environment for development of SSE. We hope this discussion will help us in ILO, in the office, on how to engage in the promotion of SSE and encourage us to build and strengthen partnership with SSE organizations and those promoting SSE. I would like to say that this is an important opportunity for co-op movements in Africa and around the globe to advocate with their governments to ensure that cooperatives are well represented as part of advancing the thinking on social and solidarity economy. And it will be important to have people like yourselves, co-op experts, practitioners, among the delegates at this International Labor Conference. But because ILO is tripartite, which means government, employer, and worker organization, co-op movement representatives need to be a part of one of these delegations, their national delegations. So it's important to start advocating to get co-op advocates and researchers and practitioners on those national delegations. Like, it would be very important for the Kenyan delegation to have strong co-op movement representatives from research to finance to agriculture. I looked at the program. It's very exciting. The papers address important topics. I look forward to learning from them. I commend the organizers for this robust program. I would like to also access these papers, paper preparation. And I wish you a successful continuation of your conference. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Simel Esim, for researched, well thought out keynote. I think the message that comes from you is that we can build back better. You have talked and touched on the importance of cooperatives in situations where we have sudden shocks to the system, such as we have had in the past 1 year, COVID-19. And our own experience and the research that we are conducting at CUK, focusing on 3 sectors, the aviation industry, the horticultural sector, as well as the hospitality. It does show us, and some of the papers are going to be presented at this meeting, does show that indeed cooperatives are critical in providing a cushion for the members. I think you've talked about a harmonious ecosystem that recognizes the need for coexistence, and that really goes to the core of the message that you have presented, that we can build back better. You've touched on the Agenda 2030, on the different pillars, the 3 pillars, the economic, the social, and the environmental pillars, and as well as the challenges that the SSEOs are facing, that is the social and solidarity economy organizations are facing, and you have given a way forward. One of the things that you have actually really touched on, and which we are going to follow up very closely with you, is the need for us to engage with the ILO on a number of things that you have touched on. And as a university, we will be reaching out to ILO to engage on some of these things. You've talked of studies that focus on the C2C collaboration, that is cooperative to cooperative collaboration. Of course, you've talked about CDAC. We are going to be engaging very closely with your office so that we can partner with you as a university. And with this, I think I just want to thank you very much for that captivity. We shall be engaging offline. I think COVID-19 brings us some restrictions in the sense that we cannot take this discussion as in physical conferences where we are meeting face-to-face to our coffee break. So we will be engaging with you offline. With this, I want to invite us to a health break for 15 minutes before we resume. Thank you very much, Dr. Isim.
A big hand clap for everybody, and for the great discussions we have had so far. We will have a 15 minutes break. When we resume, we are going to have one more plenary session in which we will be having a presentation by global communities, that is Fidel Wambia, and I will be introducing the chair of that session. Professor Waweru will be taking over to take us through that before we have breakout sessions. We will be coming back for a plenary. So enjoy that very brief break before we come back. We welcome you for a cup of tea outside here. And we make it fast so that we are able to resume and carry on with the very critical discussions we have.
benefits of worker cooperatives model for youth in urban settings throughout COVID-19 pandemic. And these are lessons for resilience building. This topic will be presented by Fidel Wambia, who works with global communities as an SME business specialist. He has over 12 years of experience in enterprise development, supporting the formation, growth and financing plans for SMEs. He also has a very vast experience in supporting cooperatives in the agricultural sectors and the service industry. So welcome, Fidel, and take us through this topic. Karibu.
Thank you, Prof, for that introduction and even for this session. So as Prof has introduced me, I'm Fidel Wambia, and I work with global communities. So I hope we had those are the details. So now it's clear. Okay. Yeah. So we want to capture and just talk about and look at insights and even benefits of the worker cooperative model, especially looking at the youth population, and also how those so we can learn from what we do as global communities with regard to the worker cooperatives. So, as we said, global communities and as CLEAR in particular, the CLEAR program in particular, our focus as a program has been to promote and to create awareness, of course, together with other stakeholders on the concept of the worker cooperative model of course, of the cooperatives. So, our presentation today is going to just look at what is a worker cooperative, just in briefly, and also look at our approach. What has CLEAR been doing? Cooperative leadership, engagement, advocacy, and research. The program implemented, funded by USAID, implemented by global communities. What have we been doing throughout this pandemic since we started? Yeah, since the formation of this cooperative. So basically, that is what you're going to discuss. Then also we're going to look at the certain salient features. The incentive behind coming together is because you are working together. It can be in any industry. We can have an industry where we are producing sweets, or we are in an industry where we are caregivers, and then each of us is allocated, or each of us has some time that he or she has worked, then there is a cost that is attached to that particular work. So at the end of either the month or at the end of a certain period agreed upon, we agree, and then money is given. And actually even worker cooperatives, in terms of dividends, unlike the producer cooperatives, where it's based on shares and also it's based on how consistent or how active are you in terms of being a member or supplying through the cooperative. So this one's a little bit different. And there are certain features that cut across these models. So there's a lot of democracy, there's a lot of membership, focus on membership participation, so much, because some of them or most of them have very few members. In the developed world, just like Dr. Simela said, in developed world, there are umbrella worker cooperatives that are so huge. But in Kenya, the ones we have started, we started them with very few members. So it's very easy to navigate issues, to ensure participation, to focus on member interest. There's a lot of emphasis on holistic decision making. There are certain decisions that are made at different levels in the worker owner cooperatives. One advantage that this model really is good for this economy and is also good for the youth is because it can thrive in very multiple industries. It can thrive in very multiple industries. It can apply in the creative industry. It can apply in the even agricultural steel industry. It can apply in the retail industry, or a service industry that does services like caregiving, that does services like even housing, and also just generally it can really thrive in multiple industries if it is done, or if it is founded on very strong and commercial interest. Because the issue here is sometimes when we start, we forget the commercial objective of starting the business, and then as our profits, or basically our profits go down. So this is an area that we have done. So USAID Clear Cooperative model is premised on the assumption that cooperatives are business enterprises that need to engage in sustainable businesses that generate income and focus on stability for the sake of members. So it is founded on, first, we are in business. So when you are in business, we have to think like business people. We have to do things like business people. We have to adapt, and we have to conform and comply with business principles. A business needs to have a business plan. It needs to have a strategic plan. It needs to have a system of financial management that is will make sure that you comply with statutory obligations that businesses are meant to be complying with. So worker cooperatives are proven effective, creating and maintaining sustainable, dignified jobs. It's one area where there is opportunities for employment, because you're not just producing, but you are contributing your labor. And then, of course, there's element of generating wealth together, improving quality of life, promoting community, social economic development, because it thrives and is founded on the 7 cooperative principles which generally govern cooperatives. And then it's expanding, it enhances promoting equal say, because all workers are equal, so there is an element of equality in terms of decision making, and then in terms of participation. So basically, for us as CLEAR, our aim and what we do at Bentley 3 is to basically strengthen the business objectives of the enterprises, to ensure that these enterprises operate as viable businesses. They observe principles of doing a good business, and of course integrating youth in whatever we do. And this basically also ensures that there's increased participation and thereby increased revenue for the various counties. So currently we are working in about 12 of the 25 counties, and basically all the cooperatives we are supporting are in urban context. Most of them are in Nairobi, domiciled in Nairobi, and some of them are in Nakuru. Then our third aim as a pillar is to create opportunities for youth to generate income. So just in a nutshell, what roles and benefits do members in a worker cooperative context? What are their roles? One is they contribute labor and personal experience to the cooperative. So it's more of skill and being a member. One feature of that cooperative is that it has an inverse kind of management structure. In Kenya, if you are a board member, you're a board member, you're management, you're management. Here you are a worker, and you can be a chair lady and you're a worker, but you are under the management. So you report to the management, something. Yeah. Then contributes in drafting of the cooperative bylaws. Of course, this is generally the cuts across. Everyone is working together to make the business beneficial to all members. This one cuts across also to all the other cooperatives and Sscos. Yeah. So everyone purchases shares just like anyone else, so that you can build equity, capital, and then of course there is improved bargaining power when members work together and sell together. So USAID CLEAR technical assistance to cooperatives is more of providing a hand up rather than a handout. So our technical assistance is centered on supporting the gaps that most of the cooperatives have in terms of financial management gaps, gaps in capacity to grow business plans, strategic plans, and also offer platforms where we share experiences, we share skills and knowledge on cooperative and on business development. And so this technical assistance is provided through combined efforts of external partners and internal resource. So we combine. In one of the greatest partners has been the Cooperative University in terms of development of strategic and business plans, and other institutions. So we've also employed participatory methods of engaging cooperatives. So this involves developing, of course, investor-ready strategic plans and accompany business model canvases. The strategic business tools have proven to be effective in enabling the cooperative enterprises develop clear growth maps and engage service providers. Because one other area that we started and we are continuing to do is to have a pool of a number of service providers who are also providing incubation services for businesses to supplement what clear or global communities cannot provide. And part of this is also involves linkages with or availability to access platforms or mentorship sessions through KEPSA, though we're also thinking of having strategic level partnership with such institutions to see how access to finance, access to other resources can be able to be available for the cooperatives. So these are some of the areas we have designed our technical assistance, but also we are looking at a tailored strengthening of cooperatives through 5 dimensions. These 5 dimensions are focuses on success in terms of increasing income, strengthening democratic values, and also promoting equality in business and communities. So these dimensions form the basis for assessing the cooperative performance. We call them CPIs, we call them Cooperative Performance Index. So this index is a tool that was initially done or studied or surveyed in Rwanda, and it came up with 5 areas where, if addressed, then there's an element of business viability and business sustainability in future. So one of these areas is governance, management, product development or production, marketing, and membership. So these are some of the areas. The technical assistance that we provided are anchored on these areas, and these are some of the areas that have supported or have ensured that cooperatives adapt to prudent business practices to stay afloat and to survive, especially during the pandemic. One key area was that most of the cooperatives are in industries that were literally affected. Now the business enterprises that were literally affected, but they managed to diversify income streams and to ensure that the resources that are received from those other income streams are pulled together into as shares and as membership fees, just to ensure that the cooperative model or the cooperative business still moves on. So the CPI scorecard highlights the top achievements and areas of growth in each of the 5 dimensions. So the first dimension is membership, which I said looks at how members participate in the affairs of the cooperative. So what we do is to analyze the baseline indicators or the baseline situation of how this area is practiced or is implemented with the society or the cooperative. And we also assess the skills and knowledge, participation in daily activities, just in the area of participation basically, and the knowledge in the affairs of the cooperative. Then we measure this again at the end or mid-term of the project. Then one another area is governance, which is very, very key. Just focuses on the structure and guidance for day-to-day activities. Also looks at the decision-making process, election, and how a long-term development plan is designed. So this again is looked at baseline and also mid and at the end. Then we look at management. Management is basically operations. We want to know how operations is structured in terms of bookkeeping, in terms of areas of finance, and areas of implementation of plans meant to ensure that this company meets its goals or its strategy. Basically looking at how is the business plan being being implemented, and if there are other areas that need to be reviewed within the business plan. So the other dimension is production, basically product development and service provision, because on the background of a worker cooperative, there's an element of service. Service to members who are internal customers, and service to external customers. Okay, yeah. So the other area is sales and marketing, and so clear technical assistance has supported one of the cooperatives, which is called WISE, in the area of renewable energy space, through trainings in financial management and taxation. So the trainings facilitated by CLEAR program have enabled them to develop strategic business projections and come up with strategic plans and business plans. So to date, the financial management trainings offered have resulted in cooperatives presenting their financial performance, better financial performance compared to initial indicators. Then the financial and taxation trainings have also enabled cooperatives comply with statutory tax obligations, and the undertaking of most of them now understand all that. So yeah, just a snapshot, very quickly, 1 minute, just to look at the various cooperatives. We have one called Funditech in the construction industry. And one of the key challenges is that industry has really been impacted. And what did they do? What they did was to just reduce the level of business that they are doing, just cut costs, restructure a little bit, and also review their pricing. We have one called Chipukizi, which is domiciled here, a youth cooperative doing so well, but has also been very, very affected with the pandemic, but have also tried as much as they can to develop content through social media. We have WISE, I talked about, and then we have Uprising Housing, which has also been in the housing industry, has faced a lot of challenges, but they have diversified their business, their income. We have another one called Kigro, which is upcoming, but thriving very well and trying to penetrate in the waste management sector. So just to mention, what are some of the challenges? Definitely, number one, lack of capital. Number two, awareness of the worker cooperative model. There's no much awareness. I know there has been. Then the existing cooperatives sometimes do not know. They work as a cooperative and they forget the business, or they do the business and forget that they are cooperative. So there has to be that kind of a network or integration. Then few stakeholders promoting it currently, CUK, CLEAR promoting it. I know there are quite a number too. The CAP 490 does not amplify it so well. Then limited incubation opportunities. So the way forward is to really come together, understand this concept of worker cooperative model, so that we can create multiple industries for our youth and other people to develop businesses, start businesses, and grow these businesses under the worker cooperative model. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fidel, for the good presentation on what Global Communities is doing in this very, very good opportunity for cooperatives. We know that in Kenya, in various sectors, we have very good cooperatives, but when it comes to worker cooperatives, we have not done very well. And the good work that Global Communities and the CLEAR program is doing in order to develop this nascent area of cooperatives because of what it can do to the problem that we are facing of youth unemployment and the ability that worker cooperatives can do to enhance incomes. Thank you very much. You've talked about the index that you have developed to assess and evaluate cooperatives, and that is the Cooperative Performance Index. I would wish to invite delegates to engage with the global communities and CLEAR on issues that they may want to get to learn more in order to grow this nascent area of cooperatives. Members who are here, let's please give a hand clap to Fidel for the good presentation. So thank you very much once again. Now, at this stage, I would wish to welcome the conference chair so as to guide us on the next steps of the program. So welcome, Professor Uboka.
Members, please, a big hand clap for our good professor for chairing for us that session. A big hand clap for Fid for that presentation. Now, through that, we are able to know new areas of engagement in cooperatives, what global communities are doing. Our students, from wherever they are, you now know those areas, even of research, inquiry, coming from these discussions. So from here now, we'll proceed to our breakout sessions. We have lost quite some time, and it's understandable the challenges that come with the opening ceremony. But there was a lot of value coming out of that. So we will proceed to the breakout sessions. There are 4, as you can see. You already have registered for a session of your interest. You'll go there. I also want to say that at the end of all presentations, we welcome you for lunch at CRCC, but that will come after we have completed the business for the day. Thank you for being part of this, and as you go into breakout sessions, at the end of it all, when we are done, we will not be coming back to the plenary until tomorrow morning, when we will be meeting again for powerful presentations in the plenary. So I welcome you into tomorrow's plenary sessions, where we'll be meeting Bernard Chitunga of African Development Bank, where again you'll be able to appreciate many things that Africa Development Bank is doing that relates to our theme of this year's conference. So we look forward to listening to Bernard Chitunga tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, let us converge. And you don't need to come here tomorrow morning. It's virtually tomorrow morning. Okay. Enjoy your afternoon in the sessions now. Breakouts, we go.